Americans are leaving the United States en masse. 2022, more Americans left the United States than in the prior 5 years combined.
So I don't necessarily agree with the language that Americans are leaving en masse. We immigrate much less than people in other countries do. And of course, it's increasing now that the pandemic is over. But I do agree that we are beginning to see movement of people leaving the U.S. I think people are souring on the U.S., and I think that they are starting to realize that life could be better elsewhere. It is hard to leave the U.S. First of all, it's a big, huge, sprawling country with endless things to see and do. But more than that, I think it's like the Truman Show, where we are raised to believe that there are things to fear outside of every border. If you've never lived abroad, tell me you aren't at least a little bit afraid of the unknown. On top of that, we typically don't speak a second language, and English-speaking countries are the most expensive to live in and the most difficult to move to. Finally, most of us are trapped in underpaying jobs that keep us from being able to travel, or we wear golden handcuffs in high-paying jobs. It's hard and scary, and in a lot of ways, it's even mundane and boring to move abroad. There is endless bureaucracy and red tape, but I think the math is changing to make it worth the effort, and that's why you're going to see more and more people leaving, maybe even en masse. Find out what country you should move to at expatsy.com.
Okay, listen, if you're an American and you are moving out of the country to move to another country, you need to know this. Do not change the address on your bank accounts in the United States to a foreign address. I'm an American and I've been living in New Zealand for the last 11 years. I have dual citizenship. I know firsthand that you shouldn't do this. Cannot tell you how many Americans I have met and how many Americans that I've read on the internet, on Reddit, on Facebook, wherever, that when they changed their address on their American bank accounts to a foreign address because they knew they were not returning to the United States, those banks shut down their bank accounts. No, I am not making this up. This happens all the time, and it happens across so many different banks. It's not just one bank, it's so many different banks. I'm not going to name names of banks because I don't want to get sued. There are some banks that are okay with overseas people, like USAA is a military bank and they support active military and veterans, so they should be okay with it. But I do want to reiterate something though. There is no law against Americans overseas holding onto their US bank accounts. Just the thing is, these banks don't want to have to deal with the extra paperwork of you going overseas and changing your address. It is not illegal to leave it the way that it is. And I'm telling you, if you change your address to your new foreign address, it will open up a boatload of headaches for you. All the law firm blogs that I have read say that there is nothing wrong with you leaving an American address on your bank account. Now, there is something, though, you need to also know. American banks don't often allow, for security reasons, a P.O. box or a sort of like mail forwarding system. Like if you go with a mail scanning and forwarding company for when you're overseas, sometimes those banks will find that that is not your actual address, and if you use that address, they will kick you off. By the way, this counts for your 401ks and your IRAs. Don't change them. I understand that a lot of Americans who are leaving the United States want to cut ties completely and say, fuck it, I'm out of here. I understand that sentiment. But unless you are closing your bank accounts and moving all of your money into another country, unless you're doing that, don't change your bank account address to a foreign address in America. You'll thank me later. And by the way, if you were thinking about moving to New Zealand, I have a book. It's in my bio. It's called So You Want to Move to New Zealand. And even if you're not moving to New Zealand, I have 2 chapters in that book. One about United States immigrant taxes and expat taxes, and a whole other chapter on the banking issue. So with resources and citations. So if you want that ebook or audiobook, it's super cheap. It's less than a cup of coffee. Check out my link in my bio.
So we are moving to Mexico and we are leaving tomorrow. My husband left Tuesday and he is finally in Mexico, crossed the border just fine. Actually, it took like 8 hours, so I don't even know if I could talk about all that. But everybody's asking me why we're moving to Mexico, so I wanted to give you a little story. So, my husband, his whole family is from Mexico. He's got 2 kids there. He hasn't seen his family or 2 kids in over 12 years. One of his sons is 20 and the other is 15. And when I first met my husband, he was like, listen, you can have half of my heart, but the other half is to my kids. And I'm like, I've got my kids too. And I'm like, you know what? I totally respect you for that. And I love you for that. He's the best dad in the world. And while we have created our family and we've had a wonderful life here in the United States, I felt like he was never completely happy because he was missing half of his heart. And the type of dad that he is to our kids now, and even to my kids, like, I know that even though he's, happy, he's never fully happy, because how can you be without your kids when you're the best dad in the world? So yes, we want to go because we want our family to be whole. We want all of our kids to be together, and honestly, we want to live a calmer and slower life. We literally have built businesses here. We've busted our butts. I've had an amazing career in the financial industry world. And we work, and then we get a couple of hours at night at home with our kids. And then the weekends are spent running to games or doing this or doing that. And then Sundays cleaning and laundry and all the things. And you just get tired of it, and life goes so fast. It's like, why not enjoy it if you can? So we've spent the last 4 years preparing to move, making sure like my online businesses are functioning and making money. We've got our house down there, it's paid for, and just all the things. Fun fact, I had to block his son on TikTok because it's a surprise. Nobody knows that we're coming except for his brother. And so I feel bad, but we're going to surprise his kids. And I just cannot imagine what that's going to feel like for my husband and his kids. Like, I get emotional just thinking about it. But anywho, so my husband and I met when we were in our 20s, early 20s. And then we dated, and then we lost touch. I got married. He went back to Mexico, had another son. And then after 10 long years of being separated, I went through a nasty divorce. And I went out one night and ran into him. I didn't notice him, but someone grabbed my arm and was like, "Amor." And like right away I had this like feeling like, oh my God, it's him. And we've been inseparable ever since. So we dated in our younger 20s, and then we got back together in our 30s. And here we are over 10 years later, living happily with a beautiful family. And I just am so excited because I know that things are only going to get better when all of our family is together and we're whole. So that is a little bit of background. Sorry it's a little bit longer of a video. Continue to follow along on our journey. The best is yet to come. We will all be together in Mexico tomorrow. So, woo, can't wait. Love you all. We'll talk soon.
If you are an American who is planning to move away from the US this year, this video is for you. I'm going to go over the things that you should keep when you're moving abroad and the things that you should go ahead and cancel. So the first thing that you'll want to keep is a US phone number. And the reason why you want to keep this is because you most likely use apps such as banking or investment apps that use two-factor authentication to send you a code through a text message or a phone call. And a lot of US banks don't allow you to use a non-US number for this. So you can actually cancel your US phone plan, but keep your current phone number if you port your number over to Google Voice. So that means that instead of being associated with your carrier, it is now linked to Google Voice instead. So you can do SMS and Wi-Fi calling, but you can't do iMessage or call using data. But if you're only keeping your phone number for two-factor authentication, then this is going to save you a ton of money versus having an international plan. Most two-factor authentications will work with Google Voice, but just to make sure, set this up a week or two before you leave. The second thing that you want to keep is a US address. A lot of banks and credit cards require that you have a US billing address, or else you risk your account being closed. And the IRS also needs a valid US address to send tax forms, refunds, and official notices. The best way to keep a US address is to use a virtual mailbox service such as iPostal1. So the way this service works is that they scan your mail, they email you images, and forward your packages internationally. So you're able to access everything online. And iPostal1, for example, starts at around $10 a month, so it's very affordable. But you can also just ask a trusted family member or friend to have your packages and mail sent to them instead. Moving on to the things that you can cancel is some insurances, such as health insurance, car insurance, and renter's insurance. Yeah, you can cancel that. If you have a visa, it probably requires that you already have health insurance valid in your new country. But if you don't have that set up yet, definitely get travel insurance. I've used World Nomads before, and it's really good. It's really comprehensive. It's pretty affordable, and it has really good customer service, which is important if you, say, get into a medical emergency. You can go ahead and cancel some streaming services such as HBO Max, ESPN, and Hulu. Those ones specifically will not work outside of the US. And you can freeze or cancel any credit cards that you won't be using overseas so that you reduce your risk of credit card fraud. All of my content is about how to live and move abroad, so if that's something that interests you, make sure to give me a follow to learn more about how you can do that.
Americans are leaving America, and it is not for vacation. It's for survival. A growing wave of Americans are packing up, terrified by Trump's dictatorship, Republican fascism, and Democrats' capitulation. Interracial couples, LGBT plus individuals, people of color, and intelligent people in general are seeing their rights replaced with restrictions. In Ireland, U.S. passport applications hit their highest level in a decade, up 60% in just 2 months. France is seeing long-term stay visas for Americans up 20%. Portugal, Spain, UK, relocation companies can barely keep up with demand. Traffic to Blaxit Global, which helps Black Americans relocate, surged 50% after the election. Some are leaving quietly, like a trans couple in Colorado, because Trump wrongly says there are only 2 genders. States are moving to ban gender care, so they're planning their exit. Google searches for how to leave the U.S. spiked after the election, and real estate deals for Americans in Spain surged before the Golden Visa program was shut down. European culture is different than American culture, and many won't adjust. And of course, Europe has its issues. Immigrations, taxes. Putin expected to take Moldova and then Romania with his eyes on the rest of Europe for the new Russian Empire. But a possibility of another European war is a safer bet than staying in a country that is already a fascist dictatorship.
The new American dream is to leave. And I'm not just talking about living abroad and earning American dollars and taking advantage of the exchange rates. I'm just talking about living a life of dignity at this point. I mean, where else in the world is anyone paying this much for healthcare? Where else in the world is anyone eating wheat that they can't digest and is wrecking their gut? Where else in the world do you live to work, not just work to live? Look, moving abroad isn't for everybody. I'm not forcing my ideas on anybody. But if you're someone like me who thinks that, you know what, I'd like to try living somewhere else, well, then yeah. Then you might like my content. And look, a lot of people in my comments come at me and they're like, well, just leave, or why do you hate America? I've never once bashed America, okay? I just ask questions and I say, hey, I've been somewhere else in the world where they do it this way. That might be a little bit better than the way we do it here. And if asking questions is wrong, well, I guess I am living in the wrong country. Nowhere is a utopia. And life can be a struggle everywhere. But it's at least worth trying and giving it a shot than just staying in the same place your entire life and never knowing.
Starting to see people on this app say like, okay, when is your now's my time to get out moment? Like now is the time to like, now I'm gonna leave. Like when is your like this is the moment? Like is it when they start arresting journalists? Like when is it? Guys, like for us, it was a year ago. It was a year ago. And it took us about 9 months beginning to end to get out of the country. So if you are thinking about possibly leaving, or if you have a way to possibly get out, or you want to start researching and looking into like ways to maybe leave, do it now. The best time was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Start now. Because look at what's been going on and all the crazy things that have happened. We moved in April and I cannot believe the amount of insane things that have been happening in the last 3 months alone. Imagine where we're going to be 3 months from now. Start now.
I just spent 15 days in Europe, Italy, Germany, and Spain. And I can confidently say that I want to move there. You know, obviously Europe is very broad, but being in the United States is just not it. I actually saw a comment that said the United States is just somewhere you go to make money and leave, not live, because it's just a corporation. Yes, you make more money here, but the quality of life is terrible. Like you're literally living to work. As I was editing this video, I was coming back to add this. Most people don't realize that their quality of life is terrible because they've never experienced anything else. It's like if I keep you in this box and I show you nothing outside of the box, you have no reason to think that there's anything out there or anything better out there. Most people don't realize why they're always tense, why they're always stressed, why they always get sick, why they always have somatic issues. And most people don't realize that at all because they've been living and coping with it their whole life. But hey, that's a whole different topic. And yes, every place has its pros and cons, but I'd rather be happy with life drinking my coffee at a beach than being in an office the rest of my life. And an espresso to be exact. Man, I love Germany. Speaking of Germany, people tell me I look like this dude. But seriously though, those that have never left the US would not know what I'm talking about at all. But when you talk to people from other cultures, other countries, they tell you what the US is, because you gotta think. We see the media for what it is because we're watching it from the inside. And it's already a shit show to us. So imagine what's really going on.